Alrighty, so welcome to Ross Lesson 1. And what we want to do is we want to work on the Hebrew alphabet and learn both the way to say the letters as well as how to pronounce them and write them. There are some challenges with learning Hebrew because the alphabet is so different from the English Roman alphabet that we've learned. But it won't be hard for us, I think, if we just put a little bit of effort into it. What I want you to do is go to page 20 in the Ross textbook, and I'm going to allow you to follow along there looking at the printed Hebrew letters that are on the far left-hand column. And to the right of the Hebrew letter, you're going to see what look like English or Roman letters, Roman font letters. That's what's called the transliteration. We do need to make sure that we understand the difference between transliterating and translating, okay? Transliterating is taking a foreign word in one script and converting the letters to another script so that when you read the other script, you're sounding out what for example, the Hebrew says. Lit is from letter, right? Trans, crossing over. We're basically crossing over from one set of letters to another set of letters to reproduce the sound. So if, for example, I wanted to transliterate the word in Hebrew, which is spelled with a beit and a tav, in English, I'm going to transliterate it by writing a B followed by a T, okay? Now, if I'm going to translate the word beit, I'm going to give an English meaning for it. Not an English sound form, but an English meaning. Translating means giving the sense of a word. So the translation would be the word house, okay? So this is transliterating, the first example. Second example, translation, okay? So we're going to learn how to transliterate the Hebrew letters. Not because I want you to depend upon transliterations, but because when you're reading commentaries and Bible dictionaries, especially ones that were printed before the last 20 years, printers had a hard time printing Hebrew text. And often when somebody needed to make reference to Hebrew, the printer would ask them to transliterate, to use transliterations for the Hebrew. If you don't know the transliteration, you will not be able to use the resources very well, okay? And that's the only reason I want you to learn them. It would be a mistake for you to try to learn to read Hebrew by transliterating everything you're reading in Hebrew. That's not a good idea. Don't depend on transliterations. You have to build into your mind the association of the Hebrew letter and the sound that your mouth needs to make with it, okay? So we're going to really work on practicing that as we go. So what I want to do is walk you through the names of the letters, how I write them, and then how we transliterate them using English symbols when that's necessary. So I'm going to start, since Hebrew reads from which direction to which direction? Right to left. I'm going to start on the right side here. We're going to write the Hebrew letters. Now, the first letter is the letter aleph. Say that with me. Aleph. Aleph. Okay. So aleph is the first letter. When you think of the alphabet, that should sound like Greek, alpha, beta. And the first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet are also similar. Aleph, beit. So we can refer to it as the aleph beit if you want to. So we're going to learn the Hebrew aleph beit. Okay, so here's how I write the aleph. I take my pen and I start on the top left-hand side and I move, oops, that's wrong angle. I want to move down to the right like this. And then I pick up my pen and I make two small curvy lines, one on top and one on the bottom there. Okay, so I'll write it again. So down and then up and over. Now you'll notice that for each of these boxes, I basically have a top line and a bottom line. That top and bottom line basically serves as the borders at the top and bottom Almost all of my Hebrew letters are going to fit between those two top and bottom lines. Most of the letters in Hebrew are also wide. So if you can imagine sort of a square, each of the Hebrew letters can basically fill up a square. Some letters will descend below the line of the bottom of the square. Some will start above, and then some are skinny. They basically take up about the space of half a square. And we'll talk about the skinny letters as we come to them. Now, what does the aleph sound like? The aleph is what's called a glottal stop, or if you speak a certain form of British English, a glottal stop. And a glottal stop is that between glot and ul, okay, that sound. You hear it when you say the word about. It's the sound right before the a of about, okay? So it's or maybe between the and the o of uh-oh, okay? So a lot of us associate aleph with alpha, and we associate alpha with the vowel a, right? You've got to get that out of your mind. In Hebrew, the aleph is not an a. The aleph is a consonant, and it can be followed by any vowel, I, o, u, right? All of those start with aleph, the sound. Okay, now how do we transliterate the aleph? It is transliterated with what looks like an apostrophe in English. Okay, so it's up, higher, not in the bottom, but the top. Okay, and it looks like an apostrophe. Or maybe a single quotation mark that's a closing quotation mark. All right, so that's aleph. Let's look at the beit, okay? For the beit, we will start on the top left-hand side, and we're going to round it and go down to the bottom, and then pick up, go to where you started, and go across, and you're going to pass that line just a little bit, okay? It's nice and wide and tall. Beit. Everybody say that with me. Beit. Beit. Okay, so you guys have taken the beit, and you're learning Hebrew. All right. What do you think the transliteration for a beit is? It's a B. Very good. So just a good old English B sound. All right, so let's write the beit again. So up, round down, pick up, and come across again. Okay? There doesn't need to be any, doesn't need to intersect that line there. It's just a little bit messy. So there's your beit. So it makes a B sound as a general rule, but we will talk about some variations on that pronunciation in due time. Okay, so everybody, B. B. So using both lips, B, B. Okay, so everybody, aleph, beit, B. All right. Let's look at the next consonant, which is, who knows Greek? So we have a couple. So what are the first three letters? Alpha, beta, gamma. And in Hebrew, it's aleph, beit, gimmel. Okay? The gimmel is a skinny letter. I start here at the top. I come down. I pick up my pen. And I go about a third of the way up. And I have that one little line coming down off of the back of it. You will notice that many of your Hebrew letters sort of leave an opening on the left-hand side. They open toward the left. All right? So gimmel is a G. So everybody, gimmel. Gimmel. So we'll write it again. Notice that it is a skinnier letter, right? So don't make it big and wide. It's a skinny letter. It doesn't eat enough. All right? So gimmel. Gimmel. Everybody, and it makes a G sound. G. G. Say that. G. G. Gimmel. G. All right. The fourth letter of the Greek alphabet is delta, and in Hebrew it's daleth. Daleth. So the daleth, it looks similar to another letter. We're going to make sure we write this one correctly. Start at the top, sort of like the beit. We're going to come across, stop, come back just a hair, and extend down. So it should be pointed with a little overhang. Notice, you college students, I didn't say hang over. Overhang. Overhang. Okay, so that's a daleth. Daleth. We'll do it again over here on this next column. Over and then down. Okay, so it's pointy on the end, up at the top there. Daleth. And the transliteration is a D, and this is the sound D. 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 So everybody, aleph, beit, gimmel, daleth. All right. On to the next one. Who knows what that is? It's hey. Hey. Very good. So now the hey, I write this. I don't start at the very top of the line. I'm going to start down about 3/4 of the way from the bottom. And then I'm going to pick up and go, leave some space, go up to the top, come across, and down. Okay, there needs to be some space in between those lines there. Okay, so this is called hey. Everybody, hey. Don't make it a harsh hey. Okay, there is a chet we're going to learn. That one sounds very German. But we're going to make, this is just like the way you do an H in English. And it's therefore transliterated with an H symbol too. So, hey, how are you? Right? Hey. Okay, so one more time. Down, up, and over. Okay? I do tend to round that when I'm writing fast. It doesn't have to be pointed, okay? So, but the important thing is that there's space in between there, because the chet we're going to learn closes that space up. All right, and then an H for our transliteration. So aleph, beit, gimmel, daleth, hey. And then we have vav. Everybody say that with me, vav. And the vav is going to be a very skinny letter. Just a little hook there. Just a little hook there and down, okay? I don't usually put my hooks that long, so I'll make that just a little bit of a smaller hook. Look at how skinny that is. I'm going to feed that boy, okay? This is going to be pronounced like a W. I'm sorry, it's going to be transliterated as a W, but here's what we have to keep in mind. German language pronounces W's like a V sound, V. Like you've ever heard of a Volkswagen in English, Volkswagen. In German, you would pronounce that as Volkswagen, Volkswagen, the Wagen for the folks, okay? A Wagen. This is, the Vav is a V sound, or it's pronounced like a V sound by most people who are speaking Hebrew today, and most Hebrew professors. I will tell you that in earlier Hebrew, this would have been pronounced as a W sound, a W sound. And I'll tell you reasons why when we get to it, that I think originally the pronunciation was W, but most people don't pronounce it that way today. So we'll follow the convention and pronounce it as a V sound, okay? But you're going to transliterate it with a W. So again, a little hook. Let me actually get my thing up. Little hook, straight down, W. Okay? So after Vav, aleph, bet, gimel, daleth, hey, Vav, Zion. Everybody, Zion. Zion. We are marching to Zion. That is not really, no, that our English pronunciation, Zion, matches what the name of the letter is, but it's not the word Zion in Hebrew. In Hebrew, it's Zion. Yeah. So anyhow, Zion is a skinny letter. So I start at the top. I have a short stroke down at a diagonal, and then I come back to the middle, and I catch it, and I go straight down. Okay? So I'll write it again. Short stroke to the diagonally to the right, and then go back, catch the middle, and come down. You'll never guess what the transliteration symbol is for Zion. It's a Z. Let's write a Z there, okay? Zion. Keep moving. All right, after Zion, aleph, bet, gimel, daleth, hey, Vav, Zion, chet, chet, chet. Okay, so chet, this is a rough guttural consonant here. It's a lot like the hey, except we're going to start way at the top of our line, come down, come back, and over. So you got to close up the space. There is no space here like there was on the hey. Chait. Everybody say that. Chait. Chait. Okay, so we'll write it again. Down, over, and down again. And you'll often see a little bit of an overhang there on that chait. This is an H with a dot under it. That dot represents the guttural nature of it. That fact that there's constriction in the throat there. That's no, it's not an accent. It's a dot under the H. Okay, so cha cha cha. So H with the dot. It's like you're spitting. Yes, somebody in front of you should get some saliva on the back of their neck when you pronounce this one. Okay, so chait on the left side. Yeah. Okay, so chait. And then tate rhymes with it. Everybody, tate. Tate. And tate looks like this. I start here sort of in a little above the middle, and I go up and around and over. Okay? It's a very pretty letter. Some people like to put little doohickeys on the end. I don't have time for those. I'm busy. Okay? So start down, up, and around. Yeah. Okay, now the tate is a T, and we're going to pronounce it just like a simple T. T, T. So everybody, tate, T. All right, but it's going to be transliterated as a T with a dot under it, like the chait is an H with a dot under it. Okay, so a T with a dot under it. The original pronunciation of the T was a T sound with the constriction in the throat. Ta, ta. Okay, but most people don't do that, and we're not going to require you to do that either. Modern Israeli Hebrew doesn't pronounce it that way as well. Okay, so just pronounce it like a T symbol. But the dot is going to distinguish it from the last consonant of the Hebrew alphabet, which is a tav. That's transliterated with a T as well, but no dot below that. Okay, so tate. What comes after tate? Chait, tate, yod. Yod. Yod is not only a skinny letter, it is skinny, but it's also very short, and it hangs out at the top of the box. So it's just like that, okay? And we will transliterate it with a Y sound. It makes a Y sound. So everybody, yod, Y. So again, up at the top, over and down, over and down. Yod, yod. So chet, tate, yod, kaph. Kaph. Let's write the kaph here. Kaph is nice and big and round and wide. Starting at the top, go to the right, come down, and down to the left like this. So that's kaph. And it is a K symbol, kaph. And here's the thing about the kaph. There are two ways to write the kaph. There is what's called the non-final or the medial form, the kind that occurs at the beginning or the middle of a word. And then there is a final form of the letter kaph. And here's how that will look. It will start on the left side. It'll be a straight line. And then just like the daleth, we'll have a little overhang. We're going to come down and we're going to go below the line. Okay, that should be straight. I'm just nervous in front of all of you. Hands are trembling. Okay, so this is a final kaph. So the kaph looks like a daleth, but a lot longer and extending below the line. That's a. I'm sorry?
Which one's the beginning, which one's the end?
Yeah.
So that goes at the end of the
So yes, so the second one is what's called the final form. So if you ever have a Hebrew word and a kaph is the last letter, you will see the second form, not the first form. Okay? If you ever come to a Hebrew word and you see this first form of the kaph, it's because some first-year Hebrew student wrote it incorrectly. Okay? All right, so let's write it again. So kaph on the second column, nice and wide, kaph, and then the final form looks like that. All right? And again, this is a K for the transliteration, so kaph. Now, the next one is the letter lamed. Lamed is an L. Lamed, right? So everybody, let's call it what it is, lamed. And it makes a L sound, L. Now, this is a beautiful letter. It will start above the typical top line. So we're going to start above, go down, and then once you get into the square, as it were, then you're going to go to the right and make a nice loop down like that. Okay? It's a lovely letter. I love lamed. Yeah, it sort of does. It sort of looks like Texas, doesn't it? So up and then down. Okay? So up over the line and then over. It's wide. It's a nice wide letter. And we will transliterate it with an L. The next consonant is maim. Everybody, maim. Maim. That sounds like an action where you like hurt somebody really bad. Maim. Okay. There's two forms of maim. There's a final form, and then there's a non-final form. Here is how the non-final form of maim looks. I start down at the bottom. I go up and down, and then I come back and put a little tail. I put a little tail on the top like that. I leave a little space there. So when I come around, I don't close it up. I like to leave it a little bit open, and I put a tail there. So I'll write it again here. Up, down, and the tail. Up, down, tail. Okay? Up, down, and a tail. And this is the letter M. Okay? Now, the final form is basically a box. It just looks like a square, and it's got a little overhang there. Okay? So, how do I write it? So I just showed you what it looks like. I tend to do a vertical line, come back up, pick it up, and close it like that. All right? So, that's maim. Noon is the next one, everybody. Noon. Noon, and this is an N. So what's the noon look like? There's two forms of the noon. Okay, there's a final form as well. The non-final form is a very skinny letter. So it looks like a vav at first, a little bit of a hook down, and when I get to the bottom, I come over. All right, and it's going to fill up about half of what the typical width is. So again, hook, down, over. Okay, the bottom should be a little bit longer than the hook at the top. So that's the normal noon. The final noon is going to look like a qoph. You see this final qoph up here? It's going to look just like that, except it will be just this amount. Okay? In other words, it's got to be a skinny looking final qoph. It'll come over, down, and below the line. So over and then down below the line. So what are you noticing? It looks a little bit like a vav here, right? Remember, the vav has a little hook and goes down too, right? But then the noon has a bottom portion. What you're going to notice is that most of our final forms, when there are final forms, extend below the line. The maim is the exception to that. Okay, so that's noon. Samekh is the next one. Samekh is basically a circle with an overhang. It looks like a sigma. In fact, the sigma comes from the same Proto-Hebrew, Phoenician, this is a borrowing from the Phoenician alphabet. The Greeks were plagiarizers, and so was Hebrew. Okay, so this is an S, samekh. Everybody, samekh? Sa. Okay, so we'll do it again. All right. So it's got to have some overhang. Got to have some overhang there, and that's an S. So samekh. The next one is ayin. Everybody, ayin. Now, the ayin is a guttural consonant, and originally would have been pronounced like this, like you're gagging. Okay. It's written this way. Starting up at the top right, we're going to come down, pick up, and intersect it right about in the middle way down. Yeah, so it looks sort of like a Y, doesn't it, in English? But don't write English Ys for me. It hurts my eyes, okay? Because it's not the same. And especially do not put the downstroke of the ayin below the line. It does not descend below the line. Okay, you usually put your Y's below the line. Don't do that here. Okay, the ayin is transliterated as the opposite of the aleph. The aleph was an apostrophe going one direction. The ayin is a backwards apostrophe going the other direction. Okay, so ayin comes down, pick up, and go to the middle. Down, pick up, and try to intersect in the middle. Okay, so now here's the question. Do you have to pronounce it as ah? No. Okay, most people today pronounce aleph and ayin the same. But I do like to put a little bit of gutturalness in there because it helps me to remember when I'm spelling words that are spelled almost the same way, except for the difference between aleph and ayin, to remember which one has the ayin. If this helps you at all, you know the name Gomorrah, right? And Sodom and Gomorrah? Guess what Gomorrah starts with in Hebrew? You would think so. It starts with an ayin. It's Amora. Amora. That ah is back close to where the G is. Ga, 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 right? Amora. So you'll see some words that come to us through the Greek Septuagint where they were hearing something that to them sounded like a gamma when they heard the ayin. All right, so nun samekh ayin. Pay is the next one, everybody. Pay. And that's a P. And here's how you write it. There's two ways. There's a final form. Here's the non-final. I start here. I go up and over and around, come back and put a little cross, intersect that. It almost looks like hangman, okay? Like I could do a little hangman game off of that. So again, up and around, come back, and line there. And then the final form looks like this, except instead of going around at the bottom, just keep going straight down to below the line, because most of our final forms will go below the line. Okay? And again, that's a P symbol.
Can I look at it as capital G turned upside down and rotated?
It is sort of like that, yes. Yes. So nun samekh ayin pei tsade. Tsade is the next one, everybody. Tsade. And tsade has two forms as well. There's a final form. Here's how it looks. You start at the top left, go down toward the right, come over, pick up your pen, and then go to the top right corner and come down and intersect it about the middle. All right? People get ayin and tsade mixed up. You can see how they do that, right? Okay, but ayin is going to start here and move in. Here we're starting on the opposite side and moving in. So again, down to the right, over, pick up, and cross there. So that's the regular tsade. Final tsade, start with this crossbar here, pick up, and come down and extend below the line. So over and down. Okay, got to go below. Now, this is an S with a dot under it. What that means is that originally this was pronounced as a S and the ah at the same time. Sa, sa. But the way it ends up being pronounced in English is as a TS sound. Sa, sa. Okay? And so we will pronounce it as such. But we will transliterate it as an S with a dot. Okay, real quickly, we need to wrap up here. Tsade, qoph, you're going to start here and then pick up and bring it down below the line. So the head of the qoph here is filling up almost all the space that these other consonants is filling. And there's a little opening here at the top. So I'll write it again, over and down, pick up, and bring it down, qoph. And this is transliterated as a Q. Okay? It will sound like a kaph to you. It will sound a lot like a kaph. K, k. Okay? But they are different consonants. So nun samekh ayin pei tsade qoph. Resh, everybody? Resh looks like a daleth, except it's rounded at the corner, whereas daleth has a little bit of has a corner and an overhang. So think resh, think rounded, right? R stands for rounded. It's a rounded daleth. And it's an R in transliteration, resh, resh. So over and rounded down, nice and wide. So resh. The next two are the same consonant letter, but just with dot placement in different places. This is seen and shin. Seen and shin. So the seen and the shin are, you're going to start at the top right, go down and up. And I already got tsade up here. So seen, and then come back. And you're going to basically make this downward stroke in the middle sort of parallel to the first stroke at the right. Okay, now seen's dot is on the left. And shin is an SH symbol. Its dot is on the right. Okay, so seen, dot on the left, shin, dot on the right. These are respectively S's, but the seen is an S with looks like an accent mark over it. And the shin is an S, and it has what looks like a V over it. Okay, and it's a very small V. It shouldn't be that wide. Looks like that. Okay, so seen, oops, put the dot there, and shin. And then the final consonant is tav. Okay, here's how I do the tav. The tav is similar to the hey and the chet. I start at the top, I go over and down to the end of the line, bottom, come back up, and I leave a little space here, and I come down and put a little foot on the bottom. Okay? Some people like to close that up. Sometimes I do when I'm writing fast, but I often do try to leave just a little space there. So over, down, come back up, and a little curvy down and a foot on the bottom. And this is a simple T with nothing underneath it. That's the tav. And it is a T sound. T. All right. So there are your consonants and how to write them and how to transliterate them.